Hey everyone, welcome to the show. Appreciate you tuning in, and I'm going to get right to it because this is a conversation I've been looking forward to for quite some time. My guest tonight, he's got a powerful voice that always keeps people wanting for more. He had an amazing run on The Voice back in 2020, and he's been cranking out great music ever since. Please welcome to the show, Ian Flanigan. Ian, welcome, sir.
Hey, thank you so much for having me, man. Great to be here.
Well, it is my pleasure. And like I just said, I've been looking forward to this conversation, Ian, for quite some time. And I was trying to think about where the best place might be to start it. And I figured that out pretty quickly because there's an aspect of your journey that literally blows me away. And I just want to start off there. And that's the fact that you were performing and touring the country at the ripe old age of 17.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
what inspired you to take that giant leap at that time? That's amazing.
Well, I'm from a really musical area, Saugerties, Woodstock, New York. Tons and tons of just crazy talented people, and I have been pursuing music since I was 11. It's basically
Okay.
the only, not even for the career, but it's been the only path I've wanted to pursue. So
Hmm.
by the time I was 17, it was just time to head on out, and I went down to Orlando, Florida, and I did like a engineering program for a couple months, and then got got my first taste of dive bars and making some cash and playing for people, and I was hooked. And from there, I just kept going. Went out to Colorado for a while, back up to New York, and I would always have kind of like a home base, and then shoot out whether it be 400 or 1,000 miles and come back and just kind of work my way grassroots across the country.
Wow. Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Malin Agency. If world class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs. Well, so what would you say were some of the lessons that you learned early on? Because again, that's a pretty brave move for doing it, especially at such a young age. Like, what are some of the lessons you learned early on?
Well, when I was younger, I didn't really consider routing. And if there
Mm.
was a show and it was, where 2,000 miles away, I'd say yes to it. And I didn't
Oh,
really think about how to get there or come back. So routing is probably the main thing to always consider. But honestly, just how to tour safely. You learn a lot. You learn how to not get robbed or how to lose things that are very important, and how to travel safely. It's the same as if you were traveling in any way, but with touring, you're it's very late. You got to learn how to navigate tricky situations. And as a young guy, I didn't know that, so I found myself in some trouble here and there. But for the most part, everybody's very willing to be very considerate and loving along the way.
yeah. And I would also think, especially at that young age, kind of the business aspect of things can be tough too, because there's people well beyond that age that, struggled initially with the business aspect of the business, if you will.
Oh my gosh, the business is the whole trouble with everything. Is That's the trouble with art in general. But yeah, when I was a kid touring, even into my mid 20s, I still didn't ever consider it. I was very much an artist first for a long time, and it really does start paying the respect to the art once you do learn the business. So that's something I wish I kind of focused on first, because when you don't put the business first or in line with the art, your art kind of suffers because you're struggling harder and harder, which inevitably takes you longer to go create more art, which is why we do this. So that's a good point you brought up.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate that. And another thing that I think is pretty impressive too is a lot of people recognize and know you from The Voice, but there was a lot of work, a lot of years, a lot of hard work and touring and performing before that. But what I found interesting was how that all came about because I remember the world kind of shuts down just about in like February, March of 2020. And from what I understand, your audition for The Voice wasn't really initially intended necessarily to be what it was. So how did that all come about and what was that experience like initially?
Yeah, my journey has been definitely unique. I was touring the folk circuit for about a year before then, and I had been in Kerrville, Texas. doing the Kerrville Folk Festival, and then I was at Dripping Springs, made my way through like ACL, and then got to Nashville right when the pandemic just like slammed everybody. And my last show was an open mic in at the Mercy Lounge here in Nashville when it was still here, and it was just an open mic, and I had lost every gig, so I was like, hey, finish strong. And it ended up being a scouting opportunity for that show. And I got brought on to season 19 as an alternate from that performance. So I basically, I kind of got fortunate to where I was able to kind of skip a couple of the audition processes and head on out to California.
Wow, that's when I hear stories like that, I can't help but think of, everything happens for a reason.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that just kind of sounds like it right there. So, when you look back on that and that amazing run that you had, as I mentioned, right at the outset, what are some of your favorite memories? Because I know it's grueling, I know it's hard. I've talked to enough people to know that you're working it late hours, early hours. But what are some of your favorite memories?
Well, my memories are always tied to people. You do meet a lot of great people there. And, it's grueling, but it's really not that bad. You are put up in a hotel, you get some room service. It's pretty fancy. So I had a great time, man. I did this thing online, this True Fire. I was taking guitar courses and just kind of like hanging out and playing music with people. But my favorite memories are one with the other musicians, kind of just we were talking a lot of business, trying to share routing, share shows, and then with the band, that house band is one of the best bands on the planet. And I mean, they push you. They're that good and they're quick, and you're gonna play in a lot of bands in your life, but that's gonna be the best band you ever played with. So just those moments of kind of rehearsals and just the live aspect. Like I'm just all about the music. They
Yeah.
teach you a lot, but they also take the time to teach you in a way that's going to last and not just to get through an episode.
No, that's fantastic because there's another aspect of, you as an artist that I wanted to dive into a little bit as well, and that's your songwriting. Because, I look at your music, whether it's your voice or your writing, it's genuine, it's real, it's authentic. So when did songwriting enter the picture for you, and what's your process like? Has it changed over the years? Or let's talk a little bit about that aspect of it.
Yeah, well, thank you. First of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I've been writing. That was my main thing. I've always been a songwriter since I was a kid, and they obviously were not very good, but it's been my passion, and probably looking back, more of like a therapy in a sense. I've probably saved thousands of dollars on therapy for having songwriting in my life. But for me, I have a very unique voice where it's very raspy. I'm a baritone. If I was to sing like a Journey song or a Queen song, it's not gonna hit. It's not for me. And I've always had to find my own lane. So I actually only performed original music up until the show. I
Huh.
had never performed cover songs. I had experimented with like two or three for weddings that I was hired to do. And I remember getting the call to go on the show, and I even told them that, where I was like, "Hey, I might not be the guy for this because I don't do cover songs, and I'm not a tenor where most of these songs live, so I don't know if it's for me." But when I got through with that show, I kind of arrived back in Nashville and began co-writing. And that has been the best journey ever because the writers out here are
Oh,
just on another level, man. And it just opened up my eyes to thinking that a song had to be lived, personally written, and then given to the audience by one person. Where it's
yeah.
like, no, we all have a collective vision here and we all have collective experiences that combined are going to be much more impactful to a broader, audience. And that's been something that has changed my entire outlook over the last 5 years.
Wow. So how would you say, if you look back over those years, how would you describe your growth then as a songwriter? Because obviously you're among the best in the world there in Nashville. And
They're
how
crazy.
would you describe the growth?
The growth for me, I think everybody's growth is super unique to them. For me, it was a lot about letting go of, I don't know, I think I had a lot of ego in my writing because I was always trying to write from the first person point of view and really get across this feeling I had instead of necessarily thinking of songs as kind of like a gift to myself, but also to anybody, where
Mm.
it's like when I listen to my favorite songs, they're not necessarily the headiest, most intellectual stories. It's kind of just portraying something that's really universal. And it's helped me take a step back and simplify. I was doing like 6 minute songs with time changes, key changes, string arrangements, and I was really going for more of a film score country thing. And now I've kind of really kind of toned everything back and just let the song, let the story be the song. And I've really, really come to like appreciate that.
Yeah, and I think that's again, I used a couple of words earlier that I'll come back to in terms of just like authentic and real, because that's something else that jumps out at me, with your songs and with your songwriting and nothing I think can top, well, I shouldn't say that because it's like every song I've listened to of yours, every video I've watched, I love them all, but your most recent single, Second Chances. I mean, in terms of real, authentic, coming from the heart, I mean, it doesn't get any more powerful than that. So, can you share with us the story behind that amazing song?
Sure. Well, thank you, man. That means a lot to me. I was writing with a very close friend of mine, Johnny Woods, one day. He came over to the house, and a lot of times songwriters here, we'll try to write a song for another artist or maybe try to write a hit or try to write something with an intention. And we just kind of sat down and we're like, you know what, let's just write for us today. I was coming up on, I think 9 years alcohol free.
Hmm.
And Second Chances was just a line that I've had, and I just really wanted to write it. And we wrote this song, and we kind of wanted to focus on just all these unseen blessings that you've had along the way, and whether your relationship with God, whether you believe in God or anything or whatever it is, for us that's how it is. But it's all these blessings that were laid along your path the whole way that you didn't know were there, and then now it's kind of about being, aware and just grateful. Like, hey, we're here today. There's a
Hmm.
thousand ways we might not have been. So in the end, it's really just a song about gratitude.
Ian, you just gave me the perfect segue into something I was thinking about, and I was trying to figure out the best way to kind of put this, but what you just talked about with gratitude, and that is your journey, you've had your share of ups and downs, but
Sure.
one thing that really comes through in clips I've seen of you talking with other people in your music is that no matter what, you just always move forward with a positive attitude or an attitude of gratitude. It literally comes through. So where do you draw that strength from?
Oh man, I definitely my mother
Hmm.
and definitely my hometown. There's a lot of hardworking, really solid people there. I've had a lot of great role models growing up. Doesn't matter the money in your bank account, doesn't matter what happened yesterday. All you
Hmm.
got is today, and we're gonna make the best we can.
Wow. You know what? That is so simple yet so profound, right?
Yeah, the simple stuff's the hardest sometimes, but it's hard to let go and of worry or anxiety and all that stuff, man, and that's all it's about. And you got to be grateful for right now. So I am.
No, that's and it like I said, it comes through and you mentioned your mom and I want to now talk about your most recent album and that title track and video, The Man My Mama Raised. Again, genuine, real, authentic. So I have two questions about that. One, I just have to ask first though, the leather chair that's like out in the middle of the woods in that video, is that as comfortable as it looks?
It is actually very comfortable. It's my wife's chair, and I
Okay.
and I have given her so much crap about it because it's all cut up from cats and stuff. And I was like, why do we still keep this thing? And then I was like, I'm taking this chair out in the woods, and then she was like, see. That's why we
Yeah.
have the chair. So I was
Well,
like,
I have
she's right.
I mean, it's an awesome song, and I want to get to that in just a second. But one of the things that just jumped out at me was like, you're sitting back, you got the guitar. I'm like, man, that looks so comfy.
A leather chair out in the woods. There's nothing better. That's
Not
where I want to be.
exactly. So now let's get back to the song itself. So talk about the inspiration for that song and what was it like for you to write it?
Man, well, this album has been a heavy album for me.
Mm.
I started off in one chapter of my life, and I had a tragedy happen where, I lost my mother just over a year and some months ago. And,
Oh, wow.
it's an inevitable, terrible, terrible thing that we all have to go through, but it's always too soon.
Mm.
She was a literal angel on this earth, man. Like she only saw the best in every single person. And I'm just really grateful for my time with her. But the title of this record, it ended up switching into being a album of kind of chapters of my life and through a series of music to where it's like where I've been, where I'm at, and where I'm going.
Huh.
But this song is very much about the pursuit or my personal pursuit to be that man that I knew she was trying to raise, and just keep on pushing until I can just try to make her proud and be the best I can.
Wow, that is really powerful, and I had a feeling, as you said, it's kind of like chapters, in the journey of your life, and I kind of had a feeling after listening to all the songs, and some they make you think, make you move.
Yeah.
It's got a great mix of, there's something strong and rather be country. Those two jumped out at me as being different, but just being great.
Oh, thank you, man. Yeah, we wanted to keep it really fun, but also keep the music diverse on the album and just like always focus on the live show. At the end of the day, it all comes back to, we got to get in front of people and make them feel good.
That's a great point, and that's something I've heard more and more recently from a lot of incredibly talented people, and that's the fact that how's this going to go over, or what's this going to be like in a live show? Being more and more of kind of the thought process, which I hadn't really thought about until now. I'm hearing it more and more, and that is what I say we, on a very small scale for me over the years, but with you, when you're touring and you're playing, I mean, is there anything like that feeling when you're about to hit that stage? What's that feeling like for you?
Man, it's always a rush, I always get excited, especially with the band. My a friend of mine always said the party's on stage, and I try to I always think about that because the more fun you're having, the more fun everybody's gonna have. And that's where sets and set lists and tempos and everything really matter.
Yeah,
Like a song like Second Chances. I think that's like 80 BPM. And it's pretty mid-tempo, slow tempo. And if you got the right set, you can keep people up feeling good and then deliver something that has a deeper message to where it feels like a really important part of the show without dropping energy. And that's kind of the whole art of performance, that I'm still trying to master. But it's one of my favorite feelings in the world, man. When you get up on stage and just playing music with people that you love in front of people that are taking time off from their life, spending money to come see you, and we're all together. And it's like, that's a lot, it's a lot for people to come out and
yeah,
support and feel good.
absolutely. Do you think it could ever get old, that feeling?
I don't, I've been hooked on this since I was a kid, and it keeps changing, and it keeps getting better in its own way. So I don't know. I'm also, I'm pretty set with it. I think music is, I don't think I could find anything that would ever beat it for me.
Yeah, and that was actually something I wanted to kind of circle back on because you started at such a young age, touring and performing. Was there ever any thought giving to any other career, or has this pretty much been it since you were like 11, 12 years old and starting to write and sing?
Yeah, I never worried about making money with music. And even today, like I need to make a body of work that when I die, I believe is going to live on and make somebody feel something. And that's like my whole goal. I don't really care about the rest.
Right.
I did pursue being a luthier for quite a while. I did an apprenticeship out in Colorado to build instruments with my dad's army buddy, Tom Thornburg. I lived out there and worked under him. And then I worked in Woodstock, New York, and built Spectre basses for 7 years on and off because
Wow.
they're the only job that would let you disappear for a few months and come right back and pick up a shift. They're like, yeah, you're gonna
Okay.
leave again. But building instruments is what I used to do, be a woodworker. But no, to be honest, I always had a mantra that was get a job that takes your body, not your mind. And I used to write my records on the clock, and just woodworking is a great way to spend your life. It's beautiful. So if that's what I did, I'd be happy too. I'd still make a lot of records.
I like that. Take your body, not your mind. That's a pretty profound statement there. And it's, and you're also technically you're kind of still in music, you're making instruments, doing those things, but you still have that time, like you said, and that ability to keep creating. Because I think when it gets in you, it's you really can't shut it off.
No, you can't. And it's like, and you're around artists, and I don't think it matters if you're painting, making woodworking, music, whatever it is. I think it's a style of living and a kind of way of thinking that is
Yeah.
always around those careers where you're just around like-minded people and you can have your weird, crazy ideas, and then other people are excited instead of trying to talk you out of them, you know?
Yeah, and I think the same thing is true with songwriting too, because I know in the past I would go through spurts where I would write a song and then next thing you know, I wouldn't even be done. Another idea pops into my head. But then if I go dormant for a while, it's like it like goes away. It's kind of like exercise, going to the gym.
It
Things
definitely is.
atrophy, and then once you get bit, if you want to do it, you just have to do it, and then more things will come into your mind.
Oh yeah, I got a couple buddies. One of my buddies, John Stone, he and I talk about that a lot, where it's like there'll be certain weeks where you had just had like five writes, and then you go home and you just have this flood of creative energy, and you have to live in it. Like you have to give your whole time to it because it's gonna go away, and then you're gonna have a dry spell for who
Yeah,
knows, you know?
no, absolutely. So now, Ian, we talked about your latest single. We talked about the latest album. Is there anything else in the works for here the rest of 2025?
You know, there's a ton of music coming out. I'm working on two different projects right now as well. And
Wow.
one of the things that's really close to my heart coming up in July, on the July 19th, I'm doing a show up in New York for an organization I've been a part of for a long time. You know, I just hit 10 years alcohol free. And one of my things that I'm on this earth for is to try to give back in any way I can.
Hmm.
And Hope Rocks is one of the only music themed projects and organizations around destigmatizing mental illness, isolation, addiction, and we come together and we're trying to get people resources and just help people, you know. And so that's something if you got some time out there online, everybody go check them out and give them a follow and be a part of a good cause. But other than that, man, just touring and making music, you know.
Oh, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, it's I do appreciate you bringing up that organization and that great work because I think, we talked about how, your run on The Voice was essentially during the pandemic, but that pandemic and the after effects for a lot of people from a mental health standpoint, talk about isolation. I mean, it just magnified so many negative things for a lot of people who still haven't really fully come out of it yet.
100%. And everybody goes through it. And yeah, those were some tough years, man. It's weird to think sometimes where it's like, oh, we're all here at a show now, and it's like life is just moving really, really quick. But mental health and community is everything. You know, Hope Rocks is such a beautiful thing because it's all
Hmm.
about hope. And
Yeah.
that word, you don't really think about it that much, but as long as you have hope, the rest is possible. You know, if you lose hope, that's when it gets really scary. And that's the one thing community does better than anything else. Is it can give you just a little bit goes a long way.
Oh, amen to that. The truer words have never been spoken. That really is true, Ian. Now, we talked about different aspects of your journey. We talked a little bit about what's, coming in the months ahead. But if you were to look back through all the years, through all you've done and all you've been through in your journey thus far, what are you most proud of?
That is a amazing question. You know, immediately I gotta say my my two beautiful daughters sitting downstairs that you might have heard on this interview.
Yeah.
Everything else kind of feels very, very small compared to that. You know, I got two beautiful twin girls, Callie and Lennon. They're about
Wow.
to be a year old. And getting through the first year of twin
Oh,
parenting, man, I'm,
been there.
yeah, they're the best thing that's ever happened in my life. So I'm gonna say them and
Oh, that
my wife, of course. But there's something about, seeing those two girls, man, more important than anything.
no, that's phenomenal. And Ian, I'll tell you, my twins were born in 93, and I always tell people from 93 to about 99, I have no recollection. It's a blur.
None, I
Very
bet.
little sleep and all
Uh,
that stuff that I'm sure you're going through right now.
we just got to sleep training to where they're sleeping through the night for
Oh,
the last 2 weeks. It's the first 2 weeks in a year. So it's a new world now. But man, you're giving me hope.
yeah. Yeah. No, it gets I tell people all the time, it's like it's not necessarily that it gets easier, it just gets different.
Yeah.
But the sleep, having more sleep definitely helps with whatever else you have to
Oh
do.
yeah. We had times where we were like I think we have months where we were completely delusional, raising twins that we didn't sleep at all. We were just walking through the motions, getting on airplanes, like, whoa.
Oh yeah,
You
remember?
know when the airport is relaxing and traveling for 10 hours is like calming. That's when you're
Yeah. Yeah, and there's no real handbook for it either. You just kind of have to figure it out as you go. And
yeah.
for people that haven't had twins, they don't really. It's I'm sure if somebody had quintuplets or something, then I can't even imagine that. But
No, I don't know. I just start praying.
yeah, no, absolutely. So that's great though that that's what you're most proud of, and kudos to you for that. So I want one last question for you. So we looked back, and now I want to look forward just a little bit. And you
Sure.
mentioned something earlier that's also pretty powerful, and that's you really aren't doing this for the money. You're doing this. You want to leave a legacy. You want to make a difference, help people, all those things. But with that said, what would success ultimately look like for you in your career?
I I don't have an answer that would make sense for me as long as my family is taken care of, right? And I'm not being some kind of anchor trying to chase some kind of dream that was
Mm.
hurting the people I love. I just need to make records, man. I got two more I need to make right now. And then if I can just keep making records until I'm no longer here, I'm good. Um, but that's what it looks like for me. Being in the studio, being on the road with my family. That's kind of it. I don't have huge goals. I think everything in life kind of comes from that. You know, all the beautiful things in my life have come because I stay focused in a sense. But yeah, I just making records and hanging with the fam.
I can't think of a better definition of success. You're
Right?
doing what you love to do, and you have the people that you love the most with you. I mean, does it get any better than that?
No, man, that's the thing. It's like we've all done different jobs. I used to cut trees and dig up septic tanks, so it's like I'm living the dream right now, man. I feel good. But yeah, I feel very fortunate to just be in music, hanging with you guys like yourself. You know, it's an honor.
Well, right back at you, Ian. I appreciate it. And I'll tell you, if you're ever up in the, southeastern PA, Jersey, Delaware area, which, as I had mentioned before we even started recording our conversation, from a country, Americana, folk, like this is a huge area for people who love that kind of music. And there's festivals and venues of all sizes,
Yeah,
in this area for
I
country
love it.
artists. So if you up this way, I definitely want to know about it and definitely want to have a chance to meet you in person, shake your hand.
I'd love it, man. Well, I'll send you a couple dates when we're close by, and hopefully we can get together.
There you go. And as somebody who's been a road warrior for a long time, close by is I can go pretty good distance and
All
and
right.
make.
Well, I got you on July 18th in Long Island. Then that's the closest.
Okay. All right. Although, being from Philly, going to New York, that's
I know.
yeah, as long as there's no sports talk involved, though, I guess it'll be okay.
I know. Yeah, it's a tough one, but you know, that's how friendships are born.
There you go. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, Ian, I really appreciate you taking time out of your day to join me here, for this conversation. That's what this show is all about. It's all about the conversations. And this is one of the most fun I've ever had. So I just want to let you know I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate you in your consideration for the music too, man. And it's great to hang with you. So thank you.
All right. You got it. Folks, also want to thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll see you next week.
I used to drink too much, but never drank enough to drown away the difference between love and lust. I lose, I learn, I heal, I hurt. I'm still getting over the bridges that I burned. I've been living with all my sinning for so damn long. I've been broken and ripped wide open, so far gone. But I keep on driving, keep on rising, keep on trying to find a way. Somewhere, somehow, somewhere, someday. I hope I'm half the man my mama raised. 'cause I'm a mama's boy. It ain't been a year, wish she was here. It's getting better now, but I'm still not in the clear. I've been living with all my sin for so damn long. I've been broken and ripped wide open, so far gone. But I keep on driving, keep on rising, keep on trying to find a way. Somewhere, somehow, somewhere, someday. I hope I'm half the man my mama raised. I have my days, I slip, I slide. You don't know how close I get to falling off the edge again. It hurts like hell, but you taught me well, and you were teaching me right up until the very end. I've been living with all my sinning for so damn long. I've been broken and ripped wide open, so far gone. But I keep on driving, keep on rising, keep on trying to find a way. Somewhere, somehow, somewhere, someday. I hope I'm half the man my mama raised.
This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty & Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. Our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA. And the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.